How can we protect vulnerable populations from environmental pollution? How can we ensure that environmental projects benefit local communities? Hi everyone, good day. By the way, this is Kimberly Vedra, and to answer that questions, let us talk about the environmental impact assessment. So here are the topics that I will be discussing you today. First, what is environmental impact assessment? So, unsa man gid ang environmental impact assessment? Unsa na siya ka-importante and kanong kailangan nato siya istudihan? And then, the second one was the history of EIA. Unsa man gid na year nagsugod ang EIA? Nganong ilan ning gipatupad ang EIA? Unsa di ay ang nahitabo adto na year? And then, why do we do EIA? Nganong kailangan gid nato buhaton ng EIA? Kanong or unsay mga benefit na atong makuha aning EIA. What is environmental impact assessment? So environmental impact assessment is a systematic process used to evaluate the potential environmental effects of a proposed project before decisions are made. It helps identify, predict, and assess the environmental, social, and economic impacts of the project and proposes measures to mitigate adverse effects. So the goal of EIA is to ensure that environmental considerations are integrated into decision making and promote sustainable development. So environmental impact assessment is an important process that studies and evaluates the potential effect of a proposed project on the environment. It aims to determine whether the project could negatively impact the natural resources such as plants, ang mga animals, and overall ecosystem. So this process plays a crucial role in protecting the environment and especially ang mga community within that area by finding alternative solutions that minimize harm. So now, let us proceed with the history of environmental impact assessment or EIA. So here, we have the pre-1970s, the early environmental concerns, and in the 1970, the birth of modern EIA. Next was the global adoption in the 1980s to 1990s, and then the 2000s to present, strengthening and expanding EIA. So now, let us first discuss the pre-1970s, early environmental concerns. Before the formal environmental impact assessment were established, industrialization and urbanization lead to significant environmental degradation. So ato na time na dako kayo og epekto ang industrialization ug urbanization, kay syempre gataas na yun ang rate sa population, so gakos siya og mga pollution such as air pollution, water pollution, and soil pollution. Air pollution because sa mga plantations o mga sakyanan sa mga tao kanang bitong mga aso na ilang ginabuga, and then water pollution tungod sa mga hugaw na ginalabay nila sa tubig or kanang mga hugaw na tubig na gikan sa mga buildings or establishment na diretso na siya sa water ecosystem or kanang mga rivers, mga lakes or dagat dira na mo diretso ang ilang tubig. And when it comes to soil pollution, syempre no, ang mga factories or industries ga-release gina sila og mga toxic chemicals, heavy metals such as lead, mercury, arsenic, and cadmium. So, ang uban ana kay larang ginalubong sa yuta diretso dito, and then makakos na siya og hazard sa environment, and then dangerous po siya sa human health. So, giunsa nila ni pag-mitigate ng mga environmental impact? So first, we have the Industrial Revolution, 18th to 19th century. So mao ni siya nag-shift na og mga trabaho ang mga tao from manual labor and agrarian societies to mechanized production and urbanized economies. So second is early conservation movements, late 19th to early 20th century. So during ani na time nag-grow na ang concerns about deforestation, wildlife loss, and pollution. And then galid ni siya sa early conservation movement. So ang kanina movement ga-aim siya to protect natural resources, preserve wildlife, and regulate industrial expansion. So establish na sila ani og mga national parks and protected areas. And now, let us proceed to the growing awareness and legislation, 1900s to 1960s. So, darin na time, ga-introduce na sila og mga laws and policies kay gataas na yun kay ang rate sa mga pollution. And then, dari po to na time, nag-release ni Rachel Carson's ang iyaang book which is ang Silent Spring 1962. So, ga-expose ni siya og dangers of pesticides like DDT, raising global awareness of chemical pollution, katupong Minamata disease, 1956 in Japan, which is quantum mercury poisoning from industrial wastewater, which caused severe health problems. So next, let us proceed to foundations for modern environmental impact assessment. So during ani na period, ang government and organization recognized the need for systematic environmental evaluation before approving large-scale projects. Next, we have the 1970, the birth of modern EIA. So the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, of 1969, signed by President Nixon in 1970s, introduced the first formal environmental impact assessment process. So, kaya siya ga-require ni siya og federal agencies na mag-evaluate kung unsa ang mga environmental effect ana na establishment aya nila i-approve or aya nila permahan para makita nila kung unsa ang dapat na himuon or mga solutions ana. So, NEPA's Environmental Impact Statement or EIS became a global model influencing UNEP, the EU's EIA Directive 1985, and national policies worldwide. So, despite early resistance, NEPA set the foundation for sustainable development, making EIA a key tool in environmental protection today. So, hinahinay na dayon, ga-adapt na dayon ang mga country aning EIA, ilan na ning sunod na pamaagi aron mabawasan na ang mga environmental concerns na ilang nangaagian. So now we have the global adoption in the 1980s to 1990s. So during the 1980s and 1990s, environmental impact assessment became a standard practice worldwide, influenced by the success of NEPA in 1970 in the US and increasing global environmental awareness. Sumauni siya no ang mga organizations ani or countries is ga-implement na sila og laws requiring EIAs to assess environmental effects of major projects before approval. So here are some key developments. So first, we have the 1985, the European Union or EU. Their EIA directive made EIAs mandatory for large projects in member states, and in the United Nations Environment Program or UNEP, ilang gi-promote ang EIA as international best practice. And then the third is the World Bank and OECD required EIAs for funded projects ensuring environmental safeguards, and then many countries such as Canada, Australia, China, and India implemented formal EIA regulation. And now let us proceed to the 2000 to present. Strengthening and expanding EIA. In the 2000s, Environmental Impact Assessment or EIA evolved to address emerging environmental challenges like climate change, biodiversity loss, and social sustainability. So since the 2000s, environmental impact assessment have continued to evolve, becoming more comprehensive and integrated into global sustainability efforts. Governments, international organizations, and businesses have strengthened environmental regulations, adopting EIAs to address climate change, biodiversity loss, and sustainable development goals. So here are the key developments. First, we have the Strategic Environmental Assessment or C, which is katong mga policies, plans, and programs. And then next, we have the Climate Change Integration, katong mga climate risk assessment, mga climate resilient, katong ga-promote sila mga solar and wind farms to reduce environmental impact. And then katong digital and GIS technology such as katong Geographic Information System, mga remote sensing, and AI. And then we have the stronger regulations such as stricter environmental laws, and then the public participation or katong mga public consultations or katong mga tao na magbuo og establishment or building na need og environmental impact assessment. So why do we do EIA? First is to protect the environment. So ang EIA makatabang siya pag-protect sa atong environment sa mga pollution, deforestation, and biodiversity loss. Next is to ensure compliance with laws and regulations. Mao ni siya no ang katong pagpatuman og mga balaod para malikayan ang mga illegal na pagmina, pagputol og mga kahoy og mga hugaw nga mga makadaot sa ato ang environment og sa mga tao. Next, we have the promote sustainable development. Mao ni siya no katong mga encourage the use of renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, hydro, and eco-friendly technologies. Tapos balance economic growth with environmental protection to achieve long-term sustainability. And next was the minimize risk and cost. So, ang EIA dako kay na siyang tabang para ma-identify nimo ang mga posibleng problema ana sa isa ka project, interest na wala pa ni nasugdan. And next, we have the engage stakeholders and improve decision making. So involve local communities, governments, businesses, and environmental groups in project planning to ensure transparency and public participation in decision making processes. Para pod ma-aware sila kung unsay pwede makadaot ana sa ila ang environment or sa ila mismo na community. And last but not the least, is to protect human health and well-being, reduce exposure to air, water, and soil pollution that can cause health problems, ensure that projects contribute to a safe and healthy living environment for communities.